Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Reddit Realms is the place where you can sit down and relax while listening to some of Reddit's wildest stories. Tonight our adventure takes us to our TodayIF ckedUp. For those of you who are new every day, I bring you new tales from Reddit, perfect for unwinding, finding a moment of calm, or simply sharing a quiet moment during your studies. Before we embark, I invite you to share in the comments where you're joining us from, and if you want to see more of this type of content, be sure to subscribe. So settle in, prepare your favorite comforting beverage, and let's begin our exploration into today's collection of experiences. Today, I fucked up by accidentally exposing my boss's quiet firing spreadsheet to the entire company I, 28 May, work in HR. Not the glamorous kind. I mostly handle onboarding, benefits questions, and updating the payroll system when someone gets married or has a kid. It's repetitive but stable work, and I genuinely like helping employees navigate red tape, or at least I did, until last month when I accidentally detonated a corporate grenade. Here's the context. My company has been restructuring, which, in business speak, means finding creative ways to fire people without paying severance. It started subtly, removing projects, cutting hours, reassigning desks. We all knew what was happening, but upper management called it performance recalibration. Anyway, our HR director, Cheryl, is one of those let's keep things lean types who loves buzzwords and passive cruelty. She once told someone returning from bereavement leave, "It's great to have you back." The team's productivity dipped noticeably. So, yeah, that kind of boss. One morning, Cheryl calls me into her office. She says she's working on a resource optimization tracker and needs me to help clean up the Excel sheet formatting. She emails it over and says, "Don't share this, please. Sensitive information." Cool. Confidentiality is part of my job. I open the file. It's titled Q2, Q3, Low Value Employees.xlsx. Not kidding. Inside are 60 plus names, people from multiple departments, next to columns labeled engagement level, visibility score, replacement cost, and termination window. There's even a color-coded column labeled push out strategy with options like overload, shift schedule, and 1.1 pressure. She had notes like seems disengaged, move to weekend rotation, too outspoken in meetings, cut client contact, maternity leave upcoming, deprioritize project access. I felt sick reading it. These weren't underperformers. They were just regular people being quietly squeezed out. So I clean up the formatting, because if I don't, she'll just yell at me. I fix the filters, freeze the top rows, make it neat. I'm about to send it back when she slacks me. Upload it to the HR shared drive when done. I'll grab it later. No problem. I save, upload, and go grab coffee. Here's where the fuck up happens. We have two shared drives. One is HR private, restricted to the HR team. The other is HR shared, visible to all managers. Guess which one auto-corrected when I typed the file path. Within 5 minutes, that spreadsheet was sitting pretty in HR shared, accessible to about 200 people, including every department head, recruiter, and, unfortunately for Cheryl, the company's internal comms manager. I didn't notice until I got a ping from IT saying, "Hey, this file is eating bandwidth. Did you mean to upload a 5 MB Excel sheet to shared?" By the time I realized what happened and deleted it, the damage was done. Screenshots, downloads, emails. The internet never forgets, especially when it's on a company network. At 11:42 a.m., the internal chat server melted down. Someone posted, "So this is why we're losing people," followed by a screenshot of the push-out strategy column. 10 minutes later, half the company was in open revolt. People were tagging executives. "Care to comment? How is this ethical? Are we next?" By noon, Cheryl's office door was closed. You could hear her shouting through the glass walls, trying to blame rogue document leaks. The CEO eventually sent an all-hands message saying, "We take data privacy seriously and will investigate this breach." I spent that lunch break quietly updating my resume. At 3 p.m., I got called into a confidential meeting with the CEO, legal, and Cheryl, who looked like she'd bitten into a lemon. They asked how the file ended up in the shared drive. I explained calmly. I was instructed to upload it. The system autofilled, I didn't realize. Cheryl tried to interrupt with, "He should have double-checked," but legal shut her down. The CEO asked, "Who created this document?" Cheryl opened her mouth, but legal already had metadata showing she was the author. She went pale. By 5 p.m., she was no longer with the company. An emergency all-hands meeting was scheduled for the next morning. The CEO did corporate damage control, promising a culture reset and saying, "We recognize that employees are our most valuable resource." Meanwhile, half the staff wore stickers that said "low value" in protest. HR couldn't take them off fast enough. The next week was chaos. People demanded severance reviews, reinstatements, and in some cases, apologies. The company offered a wellness stipend to everyone on the list as an olive branch. It didn't help. As for me, I got an anonymous gift card with a note. "Thanks for your accidental transparency. Drinks on us." TLDR, my boss made a spreadsheet tracking low-value employees to push out quietly. I accidentally uploaded it to a public drive. The whole company saw it, she got fired, and I may have accidentally started a mini rebellion. Update 2 weeks later, still employed? Which is wild considering how much I've sweated through my shirt since this happened. HR has been completely overhauled. The CEO brought in an external consulting group, to review management ethics and retention practices. Apparently, the spreadsheet was the tip of the iceberg. There were similar docs in other departments. The company's been quietly settling some cases from people who'd been managed out unfairly. I've had 3 different employees stop by my desk and thank me. One even said, "You're the whistleblower we didn't know we needed." I told them it was an accident. They said, "That's how revolutions start." Not sure I'd go that far, but I'll take the free coffee. People keep buying me. Also, the internal chat thread Stuart low-value legends is still active. People post memes like, "When you survive the spreadsheet," "push out strategy," "vacation." Corporate tried to shut it down. It reappeared 10 minutes later as highly valued. For the first time since I started this job, people actually feel like they have leverage. Upper management is terrified of bad press, so they're suddenly approving raises, extending contracts, and, irony of ironies, asking for employee trust feedback. As for me, I've got a couple job offers now just in case. I might take one, because I've learned something very anti-corporate in the last few weeks. If transparency scares your boss probably shouldn't be your boss. Work is supposed to give you stability, not strip it away. But what happens when your dream job becomes your worst nightmare? Our next story is about a barista who stood up to a manager and how a single viral video turned their entire cafe upside down. Today, I fucked up by standing up to my manager on camera and accidentally starting a company-wide union movement. I, 24F, work at a coffee chain that rhymes with Starducks. You probably know it, corporate playlists, burnt beans, we're a family nonsense. I started there 2 years ago because I actually like coffee and needed health insurance. At first, it wasn't terrible. My co-workers were cool, regulars were friendly, and I could zone out steaming milk while thinking about rent. Then management changed. Enter Darren, our new store manager. Mid-30s, business degree, permanent Bluetooth headset, even though we never saw him on a call. Darren came in swinging with efficiency initiatives. Translation: cut hours, raise expectations, smile harder. He removed the second barista during rush, shortened breaks to match productivity goals, and started scheduling voluntary 5 a.m. cleaning shifts that mysteriously became mandatory if you wanted full-time hours. Everyone hated him, but we were scared to say anything. Until one Saturday morning. It was a nightmare rush, mobile orders stacking up, espresso machines sputtering like an old car, line out the door. I was on bar, pulling triple shots, sweating through my shirt. Darren was supervising, which means standing by the register pretending to be busy on his iPad. At one point, I ran out of oat milk. I called out, "We're 86 on oat," and Darren snapped, "You'd know that earlier if you were more proactive." Something in me just snapped back. I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You'd know what's running low if you left your office once in a while." The cafe went silent except for the steamer hissing. Customers turned. My co-worker's jaw dropped. Darren's face did that slow red flush bosses get when their power gets questioned in public. He said, "We'll discuss this privately." I said, "We don't need to. Everyone here already knows." That should have been the end. Maybe a write-up, maybe a lecture. But here's where the universe decided to add gasoline. Unbeknownst to me, one of our regulars, a college kid who live streams everything, caught the whole thing on video, and because the internet rewards chaos, she uploaded it to TikTok with the caption, "Barista tells off manager like a legend." It hit 1 million views in 48 hours. By Monday, people were duetting it, adding captions like, "She said what we're all thinking," and "Union energy." Someone even made a remix with lo-fi beats under my "You'd know what's running low" line. Corporate noticed. Oh boy, did they notice. They called Darren first. He tried to spin it as an isolated incident of insubordination. Then they called me. I braced for the firing squad, but the HR rep was oddly polite. She said, "We're reviewing the situation." Meanwhile, my co-workers were hyping me up. One guy printed "Be more proactive" on a t-shirt. Another wrote it on the break room whiteboard with little hearts around it. Then someone from another Starbucks store messaged me on Instagram. "We saw your video. We're forming a union. You in?" I laughed at first, like no way my little meltdown sparked anything that serious. But it snowballed. Over the next 2 weeks, baristas from different stores started messaging each other, sharing screenshots of bad schedules, tip theft, voluntary unpaid overtime. It was like everyone suddenly realized how much garbage we'd normalized. Corporate's response, classic panic. They sent out an email titled "Let's Keep Communication Open" that basically said, "Please don't organize." They even had a regional manager visit our store to do team listening sessions. We called him the spy. During one of these sessions, Darren, still employed somehow, said, "We should focus on gratitude instead of grievances." Someone muttered, "Gratitude doesn't pay rent." I bit my tongue so hard I almost bled. The union talks kept growing. People were meeting off hours, making group chats, sharing flyers. Someone even photoshopped my face on a coffee cup that said "Proactive Blend." I begged them to stop, partly because it was funny, partly because I didn't want to get blacklisted. Then, 3 weeks later, corporate dropped a press release. We were aware of recent discussions among our partners, employees, about workplace organization. We value open dialogue. That's PR for, "Oh crap, this is real." I found out through the grapevine that 4 stores in our region officially filed for union elections. My store wasn't one, not yet, but the spark had clearly spread. Darren lasted another month before transferring, which in corporate speak means we need to hide this man until things cool down. Our new interim manager? Chill, actually. Brings us donuts. As for me, I got a coaching conversation instead of a write-up. HR said, we appreciate your passion, but encourage professionalism." I nodded, smiled, and thought, "You appreciate my TikTok views, that's what you appreciate." Now I'm part of a small organizing committee quietly working with other stores. The video's still out there, still making rounds. Some comments say I'm brave, others say I just got lucky. Maybe both. All I know is that one bad morning, one sarcastic line, and one kid with a phone made a company realize we're done being silent caffeine machines. TLDR. Told off my manager during a brutal rush. A customer filmed it, it went viral, and accidentally kicked off a union wave at multiple stores. Manager got transferred, corporate panicked, and baristas are finally talking about real change. Update, 2 months later. The vote happened. 3 stores in our area officially unionized. Corporate sent advisors, read anti-union lawyers, but couldn't stop it. We're not unionized yet, but we've been meeting weekly and talking to reps. The best part? After the votes came in, someone mailed me a custom mug that says, "Be more proactive." It's on my counter right now. Every morning I drink from it and remember that sometimes standing up for yourself can wake up a lot more people than you realize. Also, Darren tried to DM me on LinkedIn last week with, "No hard feelings?" I didn't reply. We're brewing something bigger now. Some revolutions start with coffee. Others start with a paycheck that doesn't add up. In our next story, a warehouse worker finds out their company's bonus program is quietly stealing wages, and how they turned one spreadsheet into a class action lawsuit. Today, I fucked up by figuring out my company's bonus system was just wage theft in a spreadsheet. Disguise I worked in a massive logistics warehouse. You know the type, forklifts everywhere, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets, managers with clipboards pretending to be busy. I was hired 2 years ago as a picker, packer. The pay wasn't great, but it came with overtime and a so-called performance bonus. That bonus turned out to be the bait in the trap. They told us in training, the harder you work, the more you earn. Our bonus program rewards top performers. The idea was if you picked more than 120% of your target, you get an extra $1 to $50 per hour for that week. Anything above 140% earned 2 point. Sounded fair enough, but about 6 months ago, the math stopped mathing. I noticed my paycheck never reflected the full bonus, even though my numbers were solid. We get weekly reports showing our pick rate, and I was averaging around 135%, solidly in the bonus zone. Yet, my check was always $40 to $60 short. At first, I thought maybe I'd misunderstood the system, but then my buddy Luis, who's been there forever, said, "Nah, they've been skimming. Happens to everyone." He said management adjusts the numbers before payroll to account for quality errors. But here's the thing, nobody ever tells you what your supposed errors were. It's just, poof, less money. So I started tracking everything myself. Every shift, every pick, every order confirmation. I made a Google sheet with timestamps pulled from the handheld scanner logs. After 3 weeks, my data showed I hit 132 38% consistently, with 0 errors flagged on my scanner. Yet payroll said I was at 114%, which conveniently meant no bonus. I brought it up to my supervisor, Rick, who looked at me like I'd asked him to solve a math problem mid-nap. He goes, "The system adjusts automatically, nothing we can do." I said, "Then why does it always adjust down?" He said, "That's just how averages work." No, Rick, that's not how averages work. So I decided to fuck around and find out. A few of us, me, Luis, and 2 others from night shift, started comparing notes. We realized we were all missing bonus pay. Even worse, the adjustments seemed to target the higher performers more aggressively, the ones who'd make the most extra money. Classic corporate math. Luis said he knew someone in IT, a guy who'd helped set up the warehouse tracking software before transferring departments. Let's call him Devon. Devon confirmed something wild. The system used an internal efficiency adjustment algorithm. Basically, managers could manually set a target curve for each team so that only a certain percentage could qualify for bonuses, no matter how fast everyone worked. So even if your whole crew busted their backs and hit 150%, the system would quietly scale everyone down to keep costs consistent. They literally gamified wage theft. We knew we needed proof. Devon couldn't share internal data without risking his job, but he hinted the target curve values were stored in a shared Excel file on the company's cloud. And if someone happened to see it while fixing another issue, well, accidents happen. So the next week, I volunteered for some unpaid overtime under the guise of learning admin tasks. While I was in the office updating inventory sheets, I found the Holy Grail, a folder named Performance MGMT Internal. Inside was a spreadsheet titled Bonus DQ Adjustment Q2 2025 by LSX. I opened it. Every warehouse location had its own tab, columns for team ID, target curve, bonus cap, and manager notes, and right there in black and white, adjust top 10% down to maintain budget ceiling. No more than 5% of workforce eligible for full $2 bonus per pay period. They literally had budget caps for fairness. My blood pressure could have powered a forklift. I screenshotted everything, saved PDFs to a flash drive, emailed myself a copy, to a private account, thank you very much. Then I brought it to the night crew. We had a long, quiet conversation in the break room, the kind where everyone realizes they've been robbed in slow motion. Luis said, "This isn't a mistake, this is theft." He was right. We reached out to a labor rights organization, a non-profit that handles wage theft and misclassification cases. They told us this wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. Employers can't promise bonuses based on performance and then arbitrarily adjust them downward to save money. That's literally falsifying compensation data. They suggested we gather more evidence before going public. So over the next month, we quietly collected pay stubs, screenshots, scanner logs, and the bonus policy paperwork they gave us when we were hired. I even recorded a meeting where a manager admitted, We can't afford to pay everyone who qualifies. Once we had enough, the organization connected us with a lawyer who specializes in class action wage theft cases. We filed the paperwork, and that's when the real chaos started. About 2 weeks later, corporate HR swooped in for an audit. Suddenly, we had regional managers walking the floor, shaking hands, pretending they cared about our opinions. They posted signs saying, "We take payroll accuracy seriously," which was funny because the next paycheck was still wrong. Then an internal memo leaked, not from us, but from someone higher up who clearly had a conscience. The memo said, "Under no circumstances should warehouse-level employees be made aware of the bonus adjustment policy. All communications should emphasize system variability and performance tracking. In other words, keep lying." The local news picked it up after someone anonymously forwarded the documents. Then a reporter called the labor rights org. Then a state labor department investigator got involved. Suddenly, the company went from "we're reviewing this internally" to "we are cooperating fully with the investigation." HR sent out a statement full of meaningless corporate poetry. Our incentive structure is designed to reward excellence while balancing fiscal sustainability. Translation: "We got caught stealing, please don't sue us." Last week, they quietly settled. Everyone who worked there in the last 2 years is getting back pay for performance discrepancies. The average payout is around $2,000 to $3,000, depending on hours worked. It's not life-changing money, but it's validation. Rick, my supervisor, demoted. Regional manager who signed off on the system, resigned. Devon, the IT whistleblower, still there, got promoted. As for me, I took the check, thanked my lawyer, and quit. Because after 2 years of sweating under flickering lights while being told, "We're like a family," I finally understood what that means. Families don't make you prove you deserve dinner. TLDR, company promised performance bonuses for warehouse workers, then secretly capped payouts using an algorithm that adjusted everyone's scores. I found the spreadsheet, shared it with coworkers, got legal help, and we turned it into a class action case. Company settled, I quit, and corporate jargon now makes me break out in hives. Update, 3 months later. The settlement checks cleared. A few coworkers used theirs to fix cars, pay medical bills, or finally take a few days off. Luis bought a used motorcycle and said, "I'm going to ride past this place every day and rev the engine just to annoy management." The labor rights org told us our case is now being cited in 2 other investigations against similar bonus algorithms. Apparently, this is a growing trend, companies hiding wage suppression in data optimization. I've since started working at a small worker-owned warehouse cooperative. Pays modest, but every week's numbers are transparent. When we do well, everyone gets the bonus. No spreadsheets from hell, no phantom adjustments, just actual teamwork. And here's the weirdest part. The company we sued is now quietly rebranding. New name, new logo, same corporate stink. A friend still there told me they've banned all external drives and block access to shared folders. I like to think of that as my legacy. If you're reading this and you think your paycheck feels off, check the math. Companies rely on people not paying attention. Sometimes the real performance issue is management's conscience. So yeah, I fucked up by digging too deep into a spreadsheet. But in the end, maybe it was worth it. Because now every time I see a corporate buzzword like efficiency or optimization, I hear what it really means. Someone's getting underpaid. Wage theft hides behind numbers. But sometimes the numbers hide something even darker. Our next story follows a night shift security guard who uncovered a secret in the system logs. One that wasn't about money, but about who was really locking the doors after midnight. Today, I fucked up by checking a security log I wasn't supposed to, and realizing the building was locking itself from the outside. I, 33M, used to work as an overnight security guard at a large office park outside Chicago. The kind of place with empty parking lots, endless glass walls, and motion sensors that chirp just enough to remind you you're alone. I worked solo most nights, doing rounds from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The job was mostly border management. Scan the checkpoints, log the patrols, and stay awake. The building used a smart access system tied to an app on our phones. It automatically locked and unlocked doors based on schedule, tracked entries, and logged motion in different wings. The system was supposed to be automated. Supposed to be. One night, about 3 months in, something weird happened. Around 2:15 a.m., while I was doing my second round, my phone buzzed with a notification. Main lobby door locked remotely. That was odd because I'd just walked through that door 15 minutes earlier, and I was the only one on site. The schedule was set to lock automatically at midnight, not 2:15. I shrugged it off as a glitch. But then, an hour later, server room door unlocked. Again, weird. That room was on the restricted access list. Only IT staff and upper management had clearance. I went to check. The door was closed, locked, no sign of entry. I noted it in my nightly report and forgot about it. Until it happened again. The next night, same thing. Random doors locking and unlocking after hours. But when I'd go check, everything looked normal. I started joking with my co-worker on the day shift that the building was haunted by a bored intern. Then, one Friday around 3 a.m., I got a different kind of alert. Fire stairwell opened, after hours override. That one made my skin crawl, because that door was only supposed to open from the inside. It's an emergency exit that locks out once it closes, meaning if it said opened, someone had to override it electronically. I checked the cameras. Nothing, just grainy footage of a dark hallway. But the log was clear. Override accepted by user admin no1. I didn't have admin access. Only my boss, Dave, and the building's property manager did. The next morning, I mentioned it to Dave when he came in. He looked uncomfortable, like I'd brought up something taboo. He said, "The system does that sometimes. Don't worry about it." I said, "It says it was an override. That's manual." He just repeated, "Don't worry about it." That was my first clue that something wasn't right. A week later, I came in for my shift and found the office wing unusually cold. HVAC was running at full blast, lights on in 3 conference rooms, but the logs said no motion detected since 8 p.m. I started checking rooms, thinking maybe someone stayed late and forgot to turn things off. Then I found a half-empty coffee cup on a desk, still warm. No one was supposed to be there. That's when I decided to break the one rule we were told never to break. Don't access the system audit logs. Those were supposedly for management only, but the password was laughably predictable, the building name +123. I logged in. The audit trail showed multiple remote logins from a secondary terminal labeled admin02. The kicker? The terminal location was listed as offsite access, remote IP, private residence. Someone was logging in from home after hours and manually controlling the building's doors, and the timestamps matched perfectly with the weird events I'd been seeing. The random locks, the server room, the stairwell. I grabbed screenshots and sent them to my work email, figuring I'd show Dave in the morning. But around 4:30 a.m., as I was finishing my rounds, something else happened. The lights in the hallway flickered and my phone buzzed again. Security guard checkpoint inactive for 15 minutes, reinitializing. That alert only triggered if the system thought my phone wasn't moving, like if I'd left the building. But I was literally walking. Then the app froze. I couldn't check the cameras or logs anymore. A new message popped up on my phone screen. System lockdown. Admin override in progress. Every door I tried was locked, even the lobby, which should never lock from the inside for safety reasons. I was sealed in. I panicked. Tried calling Dave. No answer. Tried the property manager. Voicemail. Finally, I called the local police non-emergency line and told them I was a security guard locked in my own building. They showed up 15 minutes later. By then, the doors had unlocked again. The officer looked at me like I was nuts. I showed him the logs. The system had conveniently wiped the last 2 entries. He shrugged and said, "Probably a system bug." I went home feeling insane. The next day, Dave called me in early. He said, "We need to talk about last night." He looked pale, jittery. He said the property management company was reviewing security protocols, and I was being transferred for my own safety. I asked, "Safety from what?" He didn't answer. He just said, "Don't access those logs again." That night, my login credentials stopped working. I later found out through a friend still there that the property manager had been using the remote system to verify overnight security compliance. Sounds harmless, right? Except apparently he'd been sneaking into the building late at night, using remote access to unlock doors, sometimes to check inventory, sometimes to test sensors. The company quietly fired him 2 weeks later after IT pulled the full audit history and found he'd entered the building at least 9 times between midnight and 4 a.m. without notifying anyone. No one knows what he was doing. The official story was that he was investigating HVAC malfunctions. But if that's true, why lock down the building while someone was inside? After that, I quit. Got a new job at a smaller facility. No smart locks, no remote access, just keys and a logbook. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that message. System lockdown, admin override in progress. And I wonder if he was ever really the only admin. TLDR, as a night security guard, I noticed our smart building kept locking and unlocking itself. Checked the system logs and found someone remotely accessing it after hours. The someone turned out to be the property manager sneaking in at night. He got fired, I got transferred, and I'll never trust smart locks again. Update, 2 months later. A local news station did a small segment on smart building security failures and interviewed former employees anonymously. I didn't appear, but I know one of the IT guys did. He told them the property manager had actually installed remote access software without company approval, letting him control doors and cameras from his house. He wasn't stealing anything, at least not physical stuff, but he was watching. Apparently, he'd been reviewing overnight footage of cleaning staff and guards to evaluate diligence. The company called it a serious invasion of privacy. They've since disabled all remote admin access. Every door now has a manual failsafe key. I sleep better knowing that. As for me, I kept those screenshots just in case someone ever tries to tell me I imagined it. Because I've learned something in security work. Not every break-in happens from the outside. Technology is supposed to make life easier, but in our next story, an overworked IT intern learns what happens when automating everything includes people's jobs and accidentally shuts down an entire department overnight.